What's up, everybody? Chicago Show Off here, and I'm back for another episode of Shootin' for Real. Today on Shootin' for Real, I'm going to talk about commentators. I'm going to talk about three main commentators and what I believe color commentary does for a wrestling match. Now, for some of y'all who don't know, commentary is a big key part of a wrestling match, because without commentary, some of the greatest matches in the world might not have been as great as they seemed. Yeah, you got the matches, and if you're a true wrestling fan like I am, yeah, you can get into it without commentary. But sometimes commentary is needed to make those moments twice as great as what they really are. I mean, some of the great moments in the WWE, would they have been that great without Jim Ross or Bobby the Brain Heenan or somebody like that making a call and saying something that just made it spectacular? Would Mankind's incident of him getting thrown off the Hell in a Cell by The Undertaker been as great as JR didn't say, "Good God Almighty, that killed him. As God is my witness, he is broken in half"? That call right there made that fall better than what it was. Now, the three main commentators I'm going to talk about tonight are Gordon Solie, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Jim Ross. Three of the best commentators of all time, in my opinion. That's my opinion. If you have your other favorites, then that's cool. But I want to talk about each of these three in particular. First off, I'm going to talk about Gordon Solie. Some people don't know who Gordon Solie is. He was the first promotional territorial commentator, pretty much. He really wasn't a commentator in WWE that much. He's in different territories commentating, mainly in Florida, NWA, and stuff like that. But what he brought to the table was intelligent commentating. I mean, like, he brought real seriousness to the matches. I mean, he made it look real serious. He had so many famous calls and famous phrases that he said. And one thing I really liked about him is, instead of calling it a suplex, he called it a supplé. I thought that was really funny. "Oh, what a supplé!" And he had coined some of the most brilliant phrases. Like, he's not fast, he's sudden. He'd fight a buzzsaw and give it the first 2 rounds. And most of y'all don't know this, but he was the first person to coin the phrase of, "His face is becoming a crimson mask." Most of y'all didn't know that. Another famous one, he said, "They're going at it, hammers and tongs." That didn't really catch on that much, but for his generation, it was great. It was good. I mean, most people couldn't have lived up to the hype that he did back in the day, but he sure lived up to it. 5 letters, 1 word, I quit. Or 5 letters, 2 words, I quit. I mean, he came up with so many great sayings that still live on to this day, especially the faces becoming a crimson mask. He brought that. I mean, he's won so many great awards. He was commentator of the year back in the 90s. He lived to about the year 2000, I believe. He died of throat cancer, bless his heart. He was one of the greatest of all time. Next, I'm going to talk about Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby the Brain Heenan is without a doubt one of the greats of all time. Great manager, great commentator. But what he brought to WWE commentary was hard-hitting comedy. And everybody's had the saying, "Funny isn't money." Well, look at some of the people in the WWE right now and tell me, I can name a bunch of people that'll prove you wrong. He made being a heel commentator funny. He was pretty much a heel commentator the majority of the time, but he made it funny. He made it funny. He can make a serious moment seem so funny, and you couldn't help but laugh. He had great calls. He made himself look ridiculous at times, but he still got people over, as well as getting himself over. Some great moments still. Like I said, great moments. Would they have been that good if we didn't have some of the famous calls made by some of these great commentators? One of my favorite calls made by Bobby the Brain Heenan, and I will never forget it. I still laugh about it to this day, and I'm going to try my hardest not to laugh while I'm saying it. When the Rockers broke up, they was at the barbershop, and when the Rockers broke up and Shawn Michaels gave Marty Jannetty the Sweet Chin Music, he took Marty Jannetty and threw him through the glass window of the barbershop. And I will never forget it. Bobby the Brain Heenan said this: "Jannetty tried to dive through the glass window to escape." I mean, it was so funny. I mean, you couldn't help but laugh. You was upset because if you was a Rockers fan like I was, I mean, you couldn't help but laugh, though. You're like, "Oh my God, that's terrible that they broke up with Bobby the Brain Heenan. That was so fucking funny," you know? I mean, it's crazy. Like I said, such great moments from Bobby the Brain Heenan. Such seriousness, but also he made comedy into it. And the person I'm going to talk about a good bit is my favorite commentator of all time, and I wish he was still commentating to this day, and that's good old JR, Jim Ross. JR made the Attitude Era what it was with some of his amazing commentator, hard-hitting passion, and downright, down-the-middle calls that he made throughout the years. Especially in some of his stuff with Austin. Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold! And when Austin beat the shit out of Mr. McMahon, you'd be like, Austin's got McMahon! Austin's got McMahon! Austin's got McMahon! I mean, he got so into it. You could tell he was getting into it. You could tell he loved every minute of it. And as you should, if you're going to be something like that, you've got to get into it. You've got to show the heart. You've got to put them guys over. And like I said, the phrase that he coined when Mankind got thrown off the cell. As God is my witness, he is broken in half. Somebody stop the damn match. I mean, he literally made wrestling commentary what it was. He set the bar for commentators today. Like JBL, he's pretty good. Michael Cole, he's alright. Jerry Lawler, he's gotten worse over the years. He used to be a great heel commentator back in the days, which is what he needs to go back to instead of talking about fucking puppies and titties and the divas acting stupid. That's getting old, JR. You're acting like a damn pervert. I get tired of hearing him talking about that. I liked his heel commentating back in the days. That was great. But he's just gotten old and he's not as good as he once was. JR, he never gets old. He's always got it. He's had it and he will always have it. I think one of my favorite calls that JR ever made in the history of WWE, I would have to be his call when Mankind got thrown off the cell. As soon as he got thrown off the cell, good God Almighty, that killed him. As God is my witness, he is broken in half. I mean, he's stomping a mud hole in and then walking it dry. JR had some of the most poignant phrases ever. Oh, well, looks like we're about to have a slobber knocker, folks. Business is about to pick up. Look at him, he's walking away like a scalded dog. I mean, he has coined some of the most brilliant phrases in the world. And people all over the world probably still use these. And of course, when they use, they always give credit to JR. Like when they make a move or make a call, they're like, as JR would say, business is about to pick up. As JR would say, we're about to have a slobber knocker. You know, they always show respect to him by showing where that call came from, you know. And I believe that he is the greatest of all time, and he rightfully deserved his place in the Hall of Fame. I just really wish he would come back and call more matches. And hopefully if Austin faces CM Punk at WrestleMania 30, they let him call that match. Because who better to call that match than good old JR? I mean, JR has called some of the greatest matches of all time in WWE history. And he's always done it. Perfection. He's always been perfect. I think without a doubt, JR is one of the greatest of all time. And there's people that need to look at him and realize, hey, I've got to be able to be up to par with him and catch up to him. If I want to be a great commentator, I got to look at JR. If I want to be a great commentator, I got to be just as good as him, if not better. That should be what commentators strive to be nowadays, is be like JR. And if you can't be like JR and Gordon Solie and Bobby the Brain Heenan, then there ain't no sense of putting a fucking headset on and standing behind that commentary table. None whatsoever. And my person's like, oh, commentary don't matter, we can take a headset off and we can have a match and be fine. Yeah, probably. But commentating and calling a match and calling the great moments helps put those guys over. Do you think Chris Benoit's win would have been better without JR commentating? The 18-year odyssey has culminated for Chris Benoit by winning the World Heavyweight Championship right here at Madison Square Garden at WrestleMania 20. So much heart. He felt like he was there with Benoit through that 18-year odyssey, and he was for the majority of it. He watched Benoit scratch and claw and fight to get to the top. And if WWE sees this, they're probably going to cut it out because I'm talking about Chris Benoit. Oh, whoop-de-doo. I mean, but some of the great journeys that have happened over the years, and when JR calls it, it makes it, you feel it. You feel like you've been there with him through that journey. Just like JR felt. It makes himself feel a part of that moment with him. And makes it so much more memorable. It's unbelievable. Like when Austin won his first WWF title. Stone Cold is the champion. Stone Cold, the Austin era has begun. And when Mike Tyson punched out Shawn Michaels after the match, Tyson, right hand, down goes Michaels. I mean, all of that energy, all of that intensity, JR fucking nailed it every single time. And any of y'all who think JR ain't a great commentator, y'all need to shut the fuck up and fucking do some research. Because he's the greatest of all time, in my opinion. the greatest. And all commentators, past and present and future, should look to him as a mentor and look to him for advice and try to be like him, if not better. If not, you don't deserve to be on that headset. Well, enough rambling for today. I'm going to post another video here in a little bit, so that's enough time we have for today. Tune in a few minutes, and I'll post another video. If you got any comments, if you got any concerns, if you got any logic, or if you got a topic you want to throw at me and want me to talk about, follow me on Twitter, shoot me a topic at Chicago Show Off, or post in the comments below about something you want me to talk about. Feel free, guys. I'm here to talk. Wrestling is my passion. I don't care if it's positive, negative. If you want to talk shit about me, go ahead. I'll talk shit right back. We'll get in an argument. We'll have a positive feedback. We'll do whatever. I don't care. But that's enough time for today, guys. I'm Chicago Show Off, and you've just been shot for real. Later, guys.